Hello and welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann and I am so glad that you are here. We are almost at the end of Junk Journal July. I cannot believe it. It is July 28th, so we only have a few prompts left. And this one, I started in one direction and then I ended up going in another. Anyway, let me show you. I'll explain what I mean. So it's the 28th. So if we take a look at the prompt list, so the prompt list is frame. And so I had a page picked out, I'll show you, and I had an idea. So definitely this journal is getting full of art and beautiful things, and I'm about ready to finish it, and which means I can start adding my journaling in to the pages, which I'm super excited about. So I had chosen this page for frame, and I have these just paper frames in my stash, and I thought, okay, well, they look sort of nice and they work well on the page, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I could put something up here. And so I pulled some frames that I thought would be interesting. And you know what, it's not that it's a horrible idea, and I may come back and do that, but I just wasn't inspired about what should go inside of the frame, and I almost felt more like what I wanted to do on this page was to put just a journaling card so that then the rest of the page could be there, and I just have a little bit of a space to journal. And that didn't feel like it lent itself to the idea of frame. So I decided I needed to do something else. And my thought was, I remembered that in my stash, I have these like slide frame things. And I thought, well, that could be a fun way to play with frame. And I also thought then I would have a little something that I could include on the page, maybe up here with my journaling card, or potentially even to put it on the outside as a dangle. So today is going to be less about the page, I think, and more about just creating my little frame here. So I'm going to take these items and I'm going to set them aside since we are not worrying about them. I am going to get myself a little place to work, and I've got the fan on. So I think first I'm going to zoom in a bit here. And then I think I'm going to grab some blue tape because the fan is blowing, and this is kind of a small piece of wax paper. So I'll just use this blue tape to adhere it down so it doesn't blow all over the place. So this is obviously way, way, way too bright. And my original thought was to stamp on it and, create a border. And while I do think that would be interesting, I also had to consider what I was going to put inside. And I remembered that I had, and I've had these, I think I've had these for like 2 years, these dried flowers, and I haven't done anything with them. And I thought that I could use one of these inside of the frame, and I thought that would be absolutely lovely. But what that does mean is that I need something that is going to not really detract too much from my flower. So I decided what I would do. Let's see, where can I put this? I guess I can leave that right there. Is take a tea bag, and this one has pretty minimal veining on it, but I thought I could use the tea bag on top, and that would have just the slightest bit of texture, and then it wouldn't detract from my flower. So I think that's the route that I'm going to go. To do that, or attach that, I'm going to use this Deco Art decoupage napkin. It's basically like a Mod Podge. To shake it, but it's thinner. It's made for napkins, and since this is so thin, I thought I would use this rather than a matte gel medium or even a Mod Podge. I'm personally not a huge fan of Mod Podge because I feel like it gets yellow. So since I shook this, there's some on the lid, and I don't need a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply. All right. And then I'll place this down. I think I am going to use the edge of this along this edge. So that's one less bit I have to cut off later. And go over the whole thing and make sure that it is adhered. It doesn't feel like it is there. And then I'm also going to go, so this is a tea bag, so obviously it's porous because it's made for the water to go through and soak the leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this to both sides to help it adhere. I feel like this, so much for taping this, right? It's jumping all over the place. Well, that was a great idea that did not come to fruition. Okay, so I've got this here, and I really can't do anything else with it until it has dried. So I'm gonna let it do its thing and clean off my brush, and I will be back once this is completely dried, and then we will go on to the next step. All right, with this mostly dry, I think I can start working on the next stage, which is basically to cut off all this excess tea bag, and also to cut out what is in the middle, and then I can figure out how I'm going to add this flower into my frame. Now, I did want to mention, I thought briefly about, well, what if I just left this on here and did it this way? It hides it too much, but I did want to sort of share that I thought of that idea and then ended up deciding that wasn't the best choice. So I'm just going to use some scissors. I'm going to trim around the outside, and then I'm going to cut the inside of this out, and then we'll figure out what else we need to do to make this little specimen slide for my journal. Okay, so I'm satisfied with how that looks. I just went around the outside with a pair of scissors, and then I did use an X-Acto knife on the inside because I thought that would be easier. There are a few places where I didn't get it quite as smooth as I would like, but it's nothing that a little bit of sandpaper can't can't deal with. And so now I've got at least the base of my frame. I'm going to grab my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo and go around the outside edge of this one, because I want to hide the white that's there. I don't want to see that, and I'm trying to minimize it. And also just to add another layer of depth to the background of this slide. So kind of serving two purposes here. And I am going to do the same thing as best as I can along this inside edge to try and hide the white, because it's pretty stark on the, the original. And also get a little bit of dimension around the window of this. Now, the whole idea with these specimen slide things is that you can see on both sides, so you can put your item inside of the slide holder, and then you can view it from either side. Now, originally these were designed to be, these slide holders were for actual slides, like photographic slides that you could put into a slide projector and project on the page. But they also work great for creating kind of specimen cards, which is what I'm doing. Now again, probably this inside part won't be visible, but just in case it is, I went ahead and distressed it a little bit so that it would not be stark white. Okay, so I think the next thing that I need to do is put my flower inside of here. And as I mentioned before, let's see if I can find my tweezers here. So I mentioned before, I think I'm going to use, I'm going to use this lovely little specimen, and so that I don't mess up these other flowers any more than I probably already have, I'm going to put them back into their packaging and set them aside. So I had two ideas for what to put in front of this. And the first one was a piece of tracing paper, because I thought it might be sort of interesting and almost the look of like a glassine bag. But it really was hard to see it. So I then grabbed a piece of, so this is just packaging, right? Like from something that I purchased, but obviously it's clear. And so you can see the item much better. And so I think that is the route that I'm going to go. And I also think if I am smart about how I cut this, what I do need to do, because I'm fighting with it, is get the sticky part off of here so that I'm not dealing with the glue. I think if I'm smart about how I cut this, I can just use it from a single piece. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut along here. And obviously I don't need to go all the way to the edge. I just need to go enough that I can glue this on, and that I'm good. So I'm just going to trim. And this is also both layers, and I don't need both layers. So this side seems a little less damaged, so we'll work off of this side. And a little fidgety because like I said, I need to cover this, and I need enough to be able to glue it down, but not to hang over the edge. Oh my goodness gracious, you think I'd never cut anything before. Okay. All right, so this is the back side. So this obviously is where I'm gonna glue. And again, I'm just gonna use, I think, my art glitter glue to glue that down, and then I'll be back. Move this lovely guy out of the way. You are probably thinking that does not look like art glitter glue. And you would be right. As soon as I paused the camera to put the glue on, I realized that glue with this plastic would probably be a terrible idea because it would squish and it would run onto the plastic or leak out, and that is the last thing that I wanted to do. And even though it would dry clear, I was afraid that I would still be able to see the texture where the glue was, and I don't want to do that. I'm trying to give the illusion that this is a slide with glass in it. So the last thing that I wanted to do was break that illusion. So instead, I'm just using some tape to adhere it down, and I'm a little off here, so I have to trim that. That I think is much better, and it's all the way adhered. And so now I think, go ahead and, oh, shoot. So the tea bag tore when I folded this. I hadn't anticipated that. Fortunately, I've got my ink, and I'll just go over that, and problem solved. Okay, so I believe I'm ready to put my leaf, oh no, I've had extra tape. Put my leaf inside here. I am going to use on the back, that's prettier. Which side is going to be the front side? I think this one's more interesting, so I'll make that the front. So maybe put it in like that. So I need just the tiniest bit of glue so that it doesn't slide around inside of my little slide. There. And then I think honestly I'm going to use some more tape because I've still got this plastic here, and I don't want this glitter glue to ooze out. So I'm going to use some more of my tape here to tape this closed. Now with the tape in, oh, that was dumb. With the tape in place, I can go ahead and peel it off and then adhere the two sides together. Okay, so there's my little specimen slide. So super sweet, but feels a little bit a little bit plain in this frame. So I think what I want to do is a little something to embellish the frame a bit more than it already is. And so let me go grab a few bits and bobs and I'll be right back. All right, so I have a few bits and pieces here that I thought I could use. This little botanical label I thought would be perfect, since this is kind of like a little specimen. And I also thought this might be fun to add. I'm not sure how, but I grabbed it. And then this little, it's actually I think a price tag, but I thought the blue was pretty and it complemented the lavender flower. So I thought it might make a nice little extra something something on top of the frame. So I grabbed that as well. I like this tag because I think purple and yellow work really well together. So we'll see what we can create, a little mini collage here. I also grabbed a piece of burlap that I thought might be interesting, and also some lace that I thought could be pretty. That actually feels a little heavy. I thought this was kind of nice, maybe just like a little corner. Oh, I really like that. I also did grab this, but I feel like it's too shiny. I'm gonna take, I just adore this. I don't have a lot of it. I'm gonna take and cut off just this little bit here. Because that I think could be super, super precious on here. Okay, let me move this pile where? Over here, I guess. So that is really kind of sweet. Maybe on this side. Then of course I've got I think this is too long. Let me trim that. I think it's just too big to make it work. And I also need to figure out where I want to put this. I think I'm going to try it down here in this corner. So this is also Distress ink. It's also a vintage photo, but instead of an oxide, it is just a Distress ink. Same color, vintage photo. But to me, it reads a little bit more red. And I want something that is going to stand out. Oh, that is so sweet. On the tea bag. It almost looks like henna, which definitely is a bit of a boho vibe. Maybe just the tiniest bit right there. Okay, that I think is working for me. And I really do love this little bit of lace here and this tag right there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I want to put this here. I do have an idea for what could potentially go there, but I gotta grab it. So I have a little collection of bits here, and I'm gonna try them on here and see what I like better. But before I do that, I am going to go ahead and glue down these other pieces because I definitely like them where they are. And I think it'll be able to figure out what I want on top better if I've got these adhered and they're not sliding all over the place. So I am going to use some Fabri-Tac for this lace bit. And then I don't think I need to use it for specimen label. I think the glitter glue will be fine. There. Okay, so I have, well, that's drying. I have 4 items that I found that I thought I could use here, and I'm just going to try each of them. So the first is this. It's a button, it's flat. I just thought it was kind of cute, and while it's cute, I think the color's totally wrong. Like, the shape is really interesting, but the color's wrong. So that is a no. Go ahead and drop that back in where I found it. I thought this was really interesting, and I do like that. It feels a little large, but I do like that. I think it's interesting, and I think the texture of the button, or the pattern on the button, sort of works nicely with the pattern on this lace. So that's a maybe. I do want to grab, yeah, this just isn't working. Then I had this little rhinestone, which I thought might be kind of fun, just as a little shiny bit. Yeah, I like that, but I don't think I like it as much as the black button, so that's going to be a no. And then I have this flat little cream colored button, and oh, see, there you go. It adds something, but it doesn't draw attention to itself. It doesn't take away from what's going here. This is definitely what I want to do. So I'm going to put this button back in its little container as well. I'm going to try and use the Distressed Oxide around the edge of this button just to age it a little bit. I think my fingers are smudging off most of it. Maybe if I use, there's a little bit still there. Okay. All right, so let me get this out of the way. And then I am, because it's going to be adhered predominantly, excuse me, predominantly to this lace here, I am going to grab my Fabri-Tac glue again to attach it, just so that I can make sure that it stays in place. And we'll get a nice little healthy dot there so that I know it's going to stay stuck. And This is slightly rounded, so I'm going to put the flat edge down and just press it a little bit. And of course that'll dry and adhere itself pretty well. And so I think we've got ourselves a sweet little frame. The one challenge that I have is that I don't want to adhere one of my Dymo labels to this sweetie. So I don't think I can do that until I decide where I want to put it in the journal, and then I can add that label. Although actually, I just had a thought. Give me a moment. So it occurred to me that I could add this to my page and still do what I had planned to do, creating my little journaling spot. And I remembered I had this paper. Now, it reads with a lot of red here, but around the edges are sort of purple. So if I were to create a bit of a frame around this white paper with these purple bits sticking out, it would connect really nicely to this. It would also help my leaf really pop out, and I'd end up with something really, really sweet. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this as an embellishment and create just a tiny bit of a text block. I'm eyeballing this, so I'm thinking if I put this here, that maybe if I trim it like that. Let me trim everything down and then I'll put it together. So I've trimmed this down so that essentially this background creates another frame. So I've actually worked in 2 frames into my page. And I'm going to go ahead and glue one onto the other. And just go around the edge. Now what's kind of fun about this cream colored paper is it's out of a book, but this edge was it was the inside first page, so there's a bit of glue still left on the edge here, and it creates just a little bit of extra texture. There's a little bit of the glue still there. I went over it with some of my ink to accentuate that, but it creates just another little layer of texture. And I think what I have to decide is whether or not I want to adhere this to the page, because I do have a spot on the back if I wanted to create some additional journaling. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to adhere this onto the page. I like this 98 that's up here, so I'm going to leave that showing. And I'm realizing there's a little bit of this white from the background, which is a little ick. So I think it's the page on the other side sort of overhanging. Actually, I could just trim that. I think I'll do that rather than ink it. Shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, that was definitely a case where the bigger scissors were better. Okay, so that's trimmed. All right, so if I put that there, I like the way that sits on the page. I think the red helps it connect to the pink a bit, and then the purple will connect it really nicely to the purple and the flower. So I am going to make a little mark right here so that I remember that's where I want to put it. And then add some glue to the back of this and glue it down. I talk in a lot of my videos about serendipity, about the idea of not necessarily not having a plan, but being open to allowing the plan to change, to evolve, being receptive to additional or new ideas. I didn't think this page was going to work for frame, and now I'm absolutely in love with it. I love how these colors work with the background. I think it complements what's here very nicely. And this background now sort of frames my frame on my place to journal. And then I have my embellishment, which also has a frame. I did decide to, I had this bit of, this is just tissue paper. And I thought that would add just another little teeny layer of something to this. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put some glue on the back here. And then what I don't want is I don't want it to hang over onto the image itself. And then I think I'm going to just glue this onto the page, but I also thought it could be kind of fun to add maybe on here this clip, this little bullnose clip, just for one more layer of layering. And then I'm also realizing because of this clip, this is popping up a bit. So I don't think that using the glue is going to be the best choice. I think the best choice is going to be to use on this edge and this edge some more of that tape. And actually, I think in this case, I'm going to use some red tape just because I think it sticks even better than the white tape. And we've got a good bit of weight going on here, especially sitting at the edge of a page like this. So I'm gonna use the red tape here to affix this to my page, and that'll allow for that bulk to be there and for this still to stay stuck. Right there works. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. A little more garden-y botanical than boho. This is kind of what I tend to like to do. But that's okay. I like it. It makes me happy. I just need to generate my page label and I'll be done. All right, so here we go. Got frame. And I think I'm going to just tuck this down here. Oh my. Pull all of the extra stuff onto the page. Just down here so that it's there and present, but not really part of the page. Because I don't think it adds a whole lot of extra interest. Right, so there we are. We've got our frame. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna grab my Micron 05 and just go around the outside of my page. not on the torn edge, but on the straight edge. Creating just a little bit more of a frame, so to speak. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I think this outlining helps this pop. I think it also helps connect it to the page a little bit, and it creates one more level of frame than we had before. Right, so there we go. Well, that was fun and a little bit unexpected, but super happy with the results. I hope that you find some time today to sit down and make something beautiful for yourself. Play, have a good time. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, I do hope that you make an absolutely great day. Goodbye.